Hey, what's going on, folks? Reports are saying that Andrew Tate has been arrested. Some are saying money laundering, some are saying human trafficking. Images of him being taken away surfaced, but this morning he popped back on Twitter to say the Matrix sent their agents. We'll talk about that, and also President Zelensky of Ukraine is striking some sort of deal with American company BlackRock and CEO Larry Fink to rebuild Ukraine. What's going on here? We'll talk about it today. Show starts now. What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys for joining me today. I apologize. I'll get back to my equipment. I've actually been under the weather. That's why I haven't been doing too many videos. I'm guessing it's climate change. I'm going to blame that. But jokes aside, the two stories of the day, the second one I want to talk about longer, so I'm going to wait a little bit, is Zelensky, I would say, sold out or um, partnered with BlackRock, the American firm. If you guys don't know BlackRock, look into BlackRock and Vanguard. They own almost everything. If you look at some of the biggest companies in America and you really trace who owns them, who owns a percentage of their stock, et cetera, you're always going to find BlackRock, Vanguard, BlackRock, Vanguard. So one of those companies that owns almost everything in America is now going to rebuild Ukraine and I'm guessing own a huge portion of Ukraine. So it's massive, massive story that I have a lot of interesting takes on. But the first story is a little quicker and less controversial because I'm definitely going to say some stuff that upsets some people in the second part. So we'll keep it simple in the first part. But Andrew Tate, I've shown videos of him recently. He got banned on everything. People called him a misogynist, and they were saying he was doing too much with women. He kind of played this role of like men fitness guy slash wealthy, be great man because women don't like losers. Like that was kind of the vibe. I'm simplifying it, but I'm just trying to like explain it in a simple. I'm not doing it justice if you like him or dislike him, but reports say that he got arrested. There's pictures of him and his brother getting arrested. And I do want to say this real quick. First of all, I'm not going to really believe much in the first 48 hours. People are going to say Andrew Tate is getting arrested for human trafficking. He's a human trafficker. Some people are saying it's money laundering. All I would say is everybody's going to have an opinion or a theory. And they're saying, oh, well, it's because he was beefing with Greta Thunberg and he showed his pizza box and they saw the pizza box and arrested him. I'm not sure that any of that stuff's true right now. I'm not saying nothing happened, but the media sucks. Everybody wants to be first. Everybody wants to get this story right away. And you see how sloppy the media was with President Trump, with COVID, with literally everything. So I would say, just to be fair, wait like 48 to 72 hours. And once everybody's story gets out, then we'll figure out what really happened to Andrew Tate because he's already back on Twitter. So whatever happened can't be that bad. Before I move on to the BlackRock Zelensky story, which I think is the biggest one, I'm just going to say with Andrew Tate, I personally, I've listened to his stuff. I'm not like, he's not like my idol or anything, but I personally think he was like a net positive. And I know a lot of people hate him because he can be a little like skeezy, like basically like, do this to women. I think he got a lot of his money besides kickboxing. He was doing some sort of like, you know, porn scheme where he was like texting girls or having girls do webcam stuff. It's stuff that I'm not really into, or I don't think that's really like super ethical or moral. But besides that stuff, I think he was the pendulum swinging back. A lot of these left wing corporations are telling men to be pathetic and be losers and just like hate yourself. And he was the opposite. He was telling men like women aren't going to like you unless you become the best version of yourself. So I would say overall, I thought he was interesting and entertaining. And, I'm interested to see where this goes. I don't think he was human trafficking, but I do know he likes to live life in the fast lane. And, when you live life like that, it's easier to get caught up in stuff. But I don't think he's doing what they're saying he's doing. I think they're just mad at him because he's effective and he's like going against the system. But I see both sides. And I think a lot of people have like, they hate Tate or they like, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I think he's entertaining. I think a lot of the people that hate him really hard, they're like, I hate Andrew Tate. I'm like, here's what I said on Twitter. I didn't mean to be rude, but I'm like, you don't have to like Andrew Tate. You don't have to hate Andrew Tate, but like hating Andrew Tate doesn't make you more interesting. That's just my opinion. Cause some of the people that are like hating on Andrew Tate, whether they're left wing or right wing, it is what it is. But I'm like, I'd still rather listen to Andrew Tate than you. I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like, it's hating on him's not going to make you more interesting. So I get that people don't like him and they want to point out what bad things he's done. But personally, enjoy listening to him, but and I don't think he's like the greatest role model in the world, but he's definitely not the worst in this world. So, I wish him and his brother the best. I think they're coming after him just because, but we'll see. I don't know. All I will say is wait 72 hours and don't believe every headline because a lot of people are going to make mistakes. With that being said, the second story, this one I have a lot to say. Zelensky striking a deal with Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, and he's basically allowing BlackRock to rebuild Ukraine. As I said earlier, if you look into BlackRock and Vanguard, they own almost everything in America. It's insane. Like BlackRock owns like everything. I'm not literally everything because they'll say that's anti-Semitic or something, but like BlackRock owns a lot of stuff in America. They just do. Some sort of investment firm. I don't even know what they do. It's like they rebuild Ukraine. They have stocks and everything. I don't know what that's called. An investment firm, hedge fund. I'm not sure. I'm not rich enough or connected enough to even fully understand how they own everything or what they do or why. But you get it. There's going to be people in the comment section that can fill in the gaps of what I said. With that being said, I want to take it back to the very beginning because for me, this screams corruption. It's like, okay, it's the same with when you start a war in Afghanistan and you're friends with the people in Boeing or something, and Halliburton. I don't know if you guys remember all this with the Bush people, but it's like all the people in his cabinet, they're connected to the people that are rebuilding Afghanistan. So I'm not gonna level accusations, pun intended, level like they level, properties and children. But in general, it's pretty obvious when there's certain people that are set to make billions upon trillions of dollars if a city gets leveled, because then their company gets to come in and say, oh, we'll rebuild it. Don't worry. Yeah, oh, Afghanistan got leveled. We'll come in and we'll Americanize Afghanistan. We'll spend trillions of dollars and we'll Halliburton or whoever, we'll build back better in Afghanistan and in Ukraine and wherever we go. So there's obviously interest there. Now, when it comes to other interests, let's take it back because if you guys remember the Panama Papers exposed like global corruption and rich people where they were hiding their money, what they were doing, and Ukraine and like Zelensky, Kolomoisky. I don't remember exactly how much they were involved in it, but I do remember Ukraine was like touted by the media as like one of the most corrupt countries because when it came to the Panama Papers, it exposed a lot of things that was going on in Ukraine. So that was, I don't remember, in the early 2010s. But let's talk real quick about the revolution of dignity because all this, I'm sorry to be boring, but I don't want to just like jump in and say something crazy and everyone's like, oh my God, that sounds so hateful. I want to explain myself because I'm not just like, I just notice patterns. Okay. I'm a dot connector. So I'm not like, oh, that's this, that's that. Listen, I love all people, but I'm connecting dots and I'm gonna keep it real. I'm not gonna lie. The Revolution of Dignity happened in 2014. That's what they call it. It was an insurrection slash coup of some sort where 100 people died, where you went from having like a moderate slash pro Russia government in Ukraine to having a pro Western government. So even though this was an insurrection that was like 100 times worse than the January 6th, the Wikipedia says it's a revolution of dignity in Ukraine. This changed the whole scene in Ukraine and started the tension between Russia. That happened in 2014. Also in 2014, I just read a recent article by Haaretz. If you guys don't know Haaretz, it's Haaretz. It's one of the oldest and most prestigious Israeli publications in Israel. It's called Haaretz. I found a 2014 article from them, and it was about Igor Kolomoisky. I'll tell you who he is in a second. Probably some people already know, but I'm going to probably provide even more stuff than some people even knew. But this Haaretz article from 2014 had Igor Kolomoisky on the front, and it said, is this the most powerful Jewish man in the world? So that's an Israeli publication saying, is this the most powerful Jew in the world? And it was talking about Igor Kolomoisky, okay? So in that article, Igor Kolomoisky, they said that he was a dual citizen of Israel and Ukraine. They said that he was using his money to build the biggest, literally the number one biggest Jewish facility in the world, and that he was, emerging with this great partnership with Private Bank, I think it's called. And if you fast forward a couple of years, now Igor Kolomoisky has had his Ukrainian citizenship stripped, I believe. I believe he's banned from the United States. and he's in some massive lawsuit with that bank because they're saying that I don't know, some sort of loans or scam and stole money. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but there's a reason I'm talking about this guy. Okay. So remember, he's a dual citizen of Israel. He's building Jewish centers with his money. He's getting in all these bank scandals. So when Zelensky came around, so you have the revolution of dignity, the coup. Now there's a pro-Western government. Oh, I forgot the most important thing before I move forward. In that Haaretz article talking about Igor Kolomoisky in 2014, it said in 2014 that he was poking at Putin, and Putin was his mortal enemy or something. So this guy hated Putin, and this was 8 years ago, way before the invasion. So there was already tension from the insurrection or coup or revolution or whatever you want to call. There's already tension because the richest Israeli Ukrainian and Ukraine or whatever is like beefing with Putin. He's doing all this stuff, right? So then you fast forward, Zelensky is an actor, comedian, just like funny guy, kind of like clown or whatever. And he's got the production studio, Kvartal 95. So he makes this show, Servant of the People. We've talked about it before, where it airs on Ukrainian television, and it's basically a psyop. It's making him look like he's the next president of Ukraine, and Ukraine doesn't have as much media as America, so you put it there, it's way more effective. It was funded, or I would say hosted, by the television network of Igor Kolomoisky. So Kolomoisky was the biggest backer, I believe, financially to Zelensky, but not just a financial backer. He basically provided a television network for him to air his propaganda of I'm this everyday person that's just like you, who's a teacher, who's going to be the next president. So they pretty much like brainwash people into thinking he's a teacher. It's like it's an insane psyop of like here's a script I wrote where I go from actor comedian to servant of the people, your everyday man who's a president. Aired it on television for 3 years in Ukraine. It was backed and hosted by, I think it was like the One network that was Igor Kolomoisky's television network. And it makes everybody in Ukraine love Zelensky because it makes him seem like the savior who's going to fight corruption and fight all the money interests. And, people actually believe the television show. As Zelensky's running for president, Ihor Kolomoisky, I don't know, depending how you pronounce it, he's also funding money to Zelensky. So the reason I bring up Igor Kolomoisky, the dual citizen Israeli Ukrainian richest oligarch in Ukraine, who is using his money to build Jewish centers all over the world. The reason I'm bringing that stuff up is because there is no Zelensky in office without Kolomoisky. He is the rich guy who backed Zelensky and put him there in multiple different ways. Okay, so Zelensky wins. Hold on a second. I want to take a sip. Zelensky wins. Kolomoisky gets in super trouble or something. I don't know. You got to look into the private bank scandal. I don't really want to speak on it, but they tried to nationalize the bank, I think, like make it like a national bank. And then they said he stole billions of dollars or scammed them, or I'm not really even sure what happened. And I don't want to speak on it, but you can look into it. Some sort of massive bank scandal. And Kolomoisky's now banned from the US. And I think he's getting his citizenship revoked from Ukraine. All right. With that being said, now you have this massive war that breaks out. And I want to say this really, really quick. First of all, I don't hate Russia or Ukraine. I'm not going to be brainwashed or propagandized into hating Russian people or hating Ukrainians. I love Ukrainians and I love Russians. And I was watching a Joe Rogan episode with like a billiards player, and he was Russian. And the dude got banned from billiards tournaments because he was Russian. I mean, this is evil. I don't care if you're Ukrainian, Chinese, Russian. Sports are supposed to unite us, and it's supposed to be the best of the best. I don't care how bad the other country is. Like, if you're the best fighter, you're the best fighter. We don't ban Mexico and ban Canelo or ban Bivol from Russia. This idea that we're the good guys and we're banning a bunch of innocent Russian athletes in their 20s, like they have something to do with the war. I mean, the Western world should be ashamed of themselves, because I just think it's so evil how they've demonized Russian people, Russian athletes, and act like they can't even participate in the world because of a war that broke out. Especially, all I'm going to say is I don't have a favorite as far as a country. I'm American, but this idea that Russia just did this, maybe not the best idea in hindsight, but this was all brewing from 2014. You had this dual citizen guy like hating on you from Ukraine, funding people to basically go against you. I mean, the tension, American politicians flying over to Ukraine to wage war. You can find videos of scumbags like Lindsey Graham essentially waging war on Russia in Ukraine in like 2016, before Trump even got in office. It would be like China flying to Mexico near our border and being like, yeah, we need to go on the offensive against America. You think we would allow China to fly to Mexico and say we need to wage war on America? Of course not. So, this idea that Russia was the instigator here from the beginning is a total lie. And I don't favor Russia and I don't hate Ukraine. I love Ukrainians and I love the people of Russia. I love the people of China. I'm not a hateful person. I don't think, oh, I hate you because you're not me. There's great people everywhere in the world. I see the similarities. With that being said, this was all building up. Now Zelensky's here. Now this massive war breaks out, and he's just leeching money out of our country. And you're not even allowed to disagree with it. And now he's got, I'm just going to say the word individual because we can't notice groups or patterns, even though I've just mentioned one a bunch of times. Who owns BlackRock? Larry Fink. What is Larry Fink? Who is Zelensky? Who is Kolomoisky? They're all part of the same group known as the individuals. So now, BlackRock's going to own Ukraine. Wow. Oh, but you're not allowed to notice patterns. All I'm saying, I'm not saying it's everyone's fault. I'm not saying blame everybody. It's just obvious what's going on here. It would be like if a dual citizen of Saudi Arabia who was super Muslim and Saudi, was the richest person in Ukraine, was running around the world building the biggest mosques in the world. You know what I'm saying? Exploiting the country, putting a Muslim Saudi Arabian guy at the head of the government, and then all of a sudden they're at war, and then they strike a deal with a Muslim Saudi Arabian company to rebuild the country. Would conservatives say, "Oh, there's no patterns there"? That sounds like Ukraine. You're racist if you know. Of course not. Conservatives would be crying and just screeching and screaming as if Israel and Palestine were in a bloody mess in the streets. But because it's another group, you can't even notice that they're doing it. Okay, well, I'll just play stupid, I guess. Oops, too late. And here's the funny part: Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, right? Two hardline conservatives that support the war in Ukraine. Do they not notice that they wouldn't even be allowed to do media in Ukraine? Ukraine is passing a law that's going to criminalize LGBTQ plus hate speech. Ben Shapiro, I don't think he speaks hate speech. I don't think there's a such thing. But if Ben Shapiro was running the Daily Wire out of Ukraine, he would probably be charged with hate speech because Ben Shapiro, as a conservative, Jewish, whatever he is, American, he constantly criticized the LGBTQ plus. So why does he pretend like his values lie with a country that wouldn't even let him do his media company there? Same with Mark Levin. Do they not notice that Putin is trying to keep all the degeneracy out of their country that Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro claim to hate so much? And Ukraine wouldn't even allow them to do a radio show? Do they not notice that? How come they support the country that would probably ban their radio show? I don't know. Is it because the president and the CEO of BlackRock and the billionaire who basically I don't know. Do they have like a special loyalty to those people over like their own values and our I don't know. Like how is Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro going to spin this one? Because they act like they're so conservative, yet they support the war in Ukraine, yet they don't even notice that they wouldn't even be allowed to speak in Ukraine because they're passing a bunch of left-wing hate speech laws. I don't understand it, but I do understand it. I just told you. It's not to blame all people. It's not to hate everybody. It's not to say that everybody's responsible, but it's obvious what's going on in Ukraine. The country has been taken over by people that have no loyalty to it, and they're sacrificing their own people. And this is where when people are like, "Oh, what do you hate you?" I like Ukrainians, but it's like if you're getting conned, it would be like telling me, "Oh, I need to like Joe Biden. If you don't like Joe Biden anomaly, you must hate America." It's like, what if I told you when it's all said and done, Zelensky helped lose multiple regions in Ukraine, got tens of thousands of people killed, allegedly. I don't know what the actual toll is, but I'm sure in 20 years it'll be a hate crime to even question the amount of people that died there. But whatever. However, I don't even know the number of Ukrainians and Russians that have died, but it's a lot according to the news. How many people have died? How much property did you lose? How much damage was done? And then what happens when it's all said and done? Are they going to be a better country for it now that they've banned churches, banned political parties, brought in Larry Fink from BlackRock to steal their country? Oh, I mean, rebuild their country. Excuse me, my bad. Like, that's good for Ukrainians? No, that's good for Kolomoisky. That's good for Zelensky. That's good for BlackRock. And apparently that's good for Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin. I don't know. Who else is it good for? It's not good for me. And if you look at the omnibus bill, it screams that America is like a colony of a foreign country. It's like billions of dollars to that foreign country, tens of billions of dollars to that foreign country. Our country's being sucked dry by blank, foreign entities. It's like they're passing more speech laws. And I looked at the omnibus bill. They're funding more, I believe, for anti-Semitism. They're funding hate speech tracking. I bet you didn't know that one's coming out. They're now gonna, millions of dollars to track hate speech in America, thanks to the bipartisan omnibus bill. And it only makes sense when you realize that the Republican Party is just as captured as the Democrats, to quote unquote these people. They're just as conquered and captured. And I'm telling people, without being too like rude and edgy or whatever, is like, it's all about the Benjamins, as they say. It's like, why do Republicans pass speech laws for a foreign country? Why does DeSantis do it? Why does Trump do it? I don't know. They have no backbone, or they get paid hundreds of millions of dollars by blank donors who want blank laws for blank people, but you're not allowed to know. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, if I'm a Christian and I'm a Christian from Russia, and I'm building the biggest Christian Russian church in the world, and then you say, hey, are you Russian and Christian? And I say, oh my gosh, that's hate speech. It's like, if you're not acting on it, it's not a big deal. There's a lot of loyal people to America. There's a lot of great people in the world. And then there's a lot of people that prioritize other things over their host nations. And that's what we're dealing with. And if you can't talk about it, it's never going to stop. But I don't know any other really way to put it besides how I just said it. Unfortunately, I wish I could have said it more politically correct, but at the end of the day, I guess I just don't really care anymore, because it's like this like revolving door that never ends. And here's the little secret. It's like, I don't even feel like a victim, because, and this is me being a little edgy to my own country, but it's like, I think that Americans have gotten too lazy, where it's like, and I know a lot of people like to say, this is our country, this is our country. I get what you're saying, because people got it in 1776, but unless your grandparents sailed over on the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, whether people want to admit it or not, I know a lot of people in America are like, well, it's mine, because you came here at a certain point. Like, I'm not from America. My grandfather came from Italy. My other grandfather came from Poland. My grandma came from Puerto Rico. My other grandma came from Czechoslovakia. So everybody at a certain point got to this country. And at a certain point, people worked hard and appreciated what they had and valued this country. Now I feel like Americans just think everything, oh, I deserve freedom, I deserve liberty. I don't think we do. And people get mad when I say that. I don't think we deserve anything. I think people, like, I'm just going to give you a quick example. I'm trying to point out the big pharma corruption of 2020, not because I hate Donald Trump, not because I hate Republicans or Democrats, just because I know the truth about what happened, and I try to explain it. How Operation Warp Speed was a scam. How the PrEP Act, rushing it that fast, allowed it to have a liability shield. And when I say that, you have these conservatives, like low energy crabs, being like, oh, anomaly, Trump did his best, blah, blah, blah. I look at men like that and I think to myself, no wonder this country is going to hell. Conservative men are pathetic. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least get out of my way, loser. Like, if you're not strong enough to say something about what's going on in the bipartisan corruption, the least you could do is get out of my way. Like, I got to swat you like a mosquito. Like, you're like a crab to me. But it's like, in general, that I'm not bashing Donald Trump for. I'm just saying this is corrupt, but you want to make excuse. Like, this is how pathetic our country is. So it's like, and then people are like, why don't I get freedom and liberty? Because you're too weak. Like, I don't understand why people just expect things. We're so lucky in this country to even get anything, like, even to complain online. It's like, it's still a great country, because at some point somebody worked hard enough or something happened to the point where even the medium tier in America is better than most other countries. You know, if you go to the Philippines, you don't have the economic stability that you have here. If you go to some of these islands, you don't have the economic stability. If you go to a lot of places in Africa, you don't have this type of economic stability. But everybody here puts on a red hat and thinks, well, I deserve freedom. No, no, you don't. If you don't work for it, if you don't call out the BS in your own party, if you're going to fall for every George Bush Patriot Act, or the left's going to fall for the Obama, it's like, I don't feel like a victim. I don't point at other people and say it's all your fault. I'm just calling it like I see it. That's what I think they did in Ukraine. But I don't, why wouldn't they do it? If everybody's just stupid, nobody wants to call it out. Like, why wouldn't they keep scamming everybody? I'm not a scammer, but it's like in America, everybody just wants things, but they don't even like want to call out their own party. It's like, I'm like, I've said for 3 years, Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis passed speech laws for a foreign country, and nobody wants to talk about it. I'm not being hateful. I just think the First Amendment's important. And if you're passing speech laws for a foreign country, it probably means you're controlled by a foreign country. Why else would an American citizen pass a speech law for Israel or Saudi Arabia or anyone? It like you're getting paid off. You're controlled. The Republican Party has been controlled. It's obvious. Trump got controlled by pharma. Trump's controlled by them. It's obvious. Nothing's changing. But a bunch of Americans want to sit there and say, oh, but anomaly, that makes me so upset. I bet it does because you're pathetic. Excuse my language. Not you, but anyway. Oh, I don't want to hear that. I bet you don't. Get out of my way, dummy, because you're the reason this country's going to hell. You don't want to hear anything. You want to put bananas in your ears and you don't want to hear it because you think your team's winning. Well, here's a spoiler alert. It's not. Your team's going nowhere. But here's the funny part is if you actually stand up to it, it all goes away tomorrow. The only reason it continues is because people are so pathetic. And that's the point that I'm trying to get to people is in life, you get what you put in. You know, if you want to be great at anything, you got to put in the work. If you want to be in shape, you got to work out. Nothing just comes to you. So I'm not like shocked that this is happening. It's like, why wouldn't this happen? You know what I'm saying? Our country's addicted to pills. Our country's overweight. And it's not just because people are eating a lot. We're being essentially, in my opinion, poisoned, and nobody gives a crap. You know, you got Joe Biden selling vaccines and mandates. Donald Trump selling McDonald's and fast food and vaccines without the mandates, and people don't want to talk. Who cares, dude? The ingredients in America are banned in most countries because they're known to cause problems, but nobody gives a crap except for Thomas Massey. But you don't want to talk about it because the orange man didn't tell you to, or you don't hate it. Like, people are so stupid in this country. It's like, why wouldn't they keep scamming us if we're so easy to scam? If you don't want to get treated like cattle, stop acting like cattle. I don't even, and this might even be rude, but I'm trying to challenge my team. Why wouldn't they treat you like cattle when you act like it? Why wouldn't they treat you like sheep? You act like it. You act like a fat sheep on a conveyor belt, just getting ready to go to the slaughter. And that's what they're treating people like. So what, like, you know, what, like, why wouldn't they if you don't want to act that way? And people think just because they're team red that it's like so much different. I already told you, your party's controlled by a foreign country, DeSantis and Trump included. Doesn't mean there's nothing they've ever done good. I still praise DeSantis for the good things he does. But the truth is, this country has essentially been captured and conquered by a foreign country that is passing speech laws for oligarchs. I mean, I'm not even trying to be a dick, but if you read, like, I have a lot of friends that are individuals. I'm not even going to say the ethnic group / religion, but I have a lot of friends that are individuals, quote unquote. They're not getting protection from the speech laws. None of my friends that are, I'll just say it, like Jewish, they're not getting any of these protections. They're not for average good Jewish people or above average good Jewish people or, you know, extraordinary. They're for the oligarchs and the corrupt ones. If you look at who are the biggest, two biggest scammers in modern history, Madoff and Sam Bankman-Fried. Who are the biggest human traffickers in modern history? Epstein, Maxwell. What do they all have in common? I'll give you a hint. They all get protections from the speech laws that Trump and DeSantis are passing, you know, just based on definition. They're not for average people. These laws that are being passed that basically say you're not allowed to criticize or notice certain patterns without it being a hate speech thing. And the omnibus bill is now tracking American citizens based on that hate speech. They're now funding money to track you for hate speech, while Trump and DeSantis pass hate speech laws, while a company from America goes overseas to basically own Ukraine, while they share in common the backer of Zelensky and him himself. I mean, duh. but you can't talk about it because everybody wants to hang out at Mar-a-Lago and everybody wants to speak at TPUSA. I'm done. I've been done for 3 years. It's like it's not helping people. It's not helping anybody by doing this, especially not in this country. Um, Someone said Netanyahu doesn't give an S about the regular people in Israel. Well, I don't even know that much about Israeli politics, but I would assume that the elites of Israel are a lot more concerned with themselves than they are the average person. You can almost guarantee that. I mean, it would be an anomaly, for lack of a better word, if they really cared about the people. Because if you look at most countries, sadly, the government gets really corrupt. Like, even in like Mexico and stuff, the cops will just like rob you. But most governments don't seem to care that much. I don't know if that's human nature or corruption or money, but it is what it is. But anyway, I'll read a few comments before I take off. Andrew Tate allegedly apparently arrested. Some people are saying human trafficking, some people are saying money laundering. Obviously, a lot of people think it's not true because he was just beefing with Greta Thunberg. Some people think it is true because he's a bit of a player with the women and is like a macho with this sort of thing. I'm all I'm gonna say is wait 72 hours before you really think that the story you heard is true, because Snake Island there's all these stories where everybody jumps on it and then it's not true. I've learned my lesson. Whether it's like a massive tragedy or something like this, it's like I'm not going to make a huge statement right away. Even the Jesse Smollett thing. Like, I thought the Jesse Smollett thing was fake. It sounded fake. Like, I'm just going to eat a Subway sandwich at 3 a.m. Like, bro, you got money. Uber Eats that thing. Get off the streets, bro. But in general, I still didn't say it was fake, because what if it was real? Then he could sue me or something. I'm like, I'll wait. How do I know if it's true? It just doesn't sound true. With that being said, patience is a virtue, and the real story will come out eventually with Andrew Tate. Um, with that being said, the Zelensky thing in Ukraine, I mean, I don't know. I wish I knew a nicer way to put it, but like, I just think they're totally just scamming America. Like, America's just being sucked dry, just sucked dry. And now BlackRock's going to go over there and make a fortune and own most of their country like they own our country. And that's just the way things go. And I just don't think it's random. And everybody knows it's not random. It's just everybody's trying to connect the dots. These are my dots that I've connected. When people are like, oh, Pelosi's daughter and the stock, like, that's you connecting dots. It doesn't mean you hate Democrats or you hate Pelosi. It's just you're trying to connect the dots. Like, why did they have money interests in Ukraine, and why are we sending a bunch of money? There's no such thing as hate speech when you're connecting dots. And these are the dots that I've connected: Kolomoisky, Zelensky, Larry Fink, and mysteriously Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin support it. Yay. It goes against all our. Somebody ask Mark Levin or Ben Shapiro. That's my little challenge for the month. Ask Ben Shapiro if he knows that in Russia, they're starting to ban LGBTQ propaganda. And in Ukraine, they're starting to ban hate speech for LGBTQ. So despite the fact that Shapiro and Levin seem to support the war, they probably wouldn't even be allowed to run their corporation in Ukraine. So why can somebody ask that listens to those two phonies? I mean, those two influencers, what is it? Mark Levin and Shapiro. Can somebody who actually likes them ask them that question? Just ask them, are you aware that Ukraine is banning LGBTQ plus hate speech and that you wouldn't even be allowed to like broadcast there? And are you aware that that Russia is becoming everything that you guys pretend that you want for America? Isn't it weird that this is why, people say the New World Order, and they don't say it randomly, like, oh, it's this conspiracy theory. Is it? Because George Bush used to say it, and Mike Pompeo said liberal world order, and Biden said liberal world order. It's this conspiracy theory that they just keep saying all the time. But in general, I don't even call it the liberal. I call it the liberal rainbow world order or the liberal gay world order. Because to me, I notice that they're going to every country that isn't just doing drag queen story hour, that has some sort of like strong man, woman, like Christian thing. Like I think Russia, they're building more churches. It's like Ukraine is banning churches. Russia's building churches. Russia's banning LGBTQ propaganda. Ukraine's banning criticism of LGBTQ propaganda. Basically, Zelensky went to that country and sucked the Christianity out of it and injected it with liberalism. And the liberal world order just runs around the world trying to find every country that isn't completely subservient to like backwards ideology and pumps in our satanic, demonic, disgusting mindset to them. It's evil, you know. And if you want to be a good country, you gotta stop that. Like this, that's good. BlackRock rebuilding Ukraine and making them gayer and less Christian. Like okay, like sure. Yeah. Woo. Yay. The individual came to Ukraine and 4 years later they're not even like that Christian anymore. That's a huge win for us. Like, no, it's not. And I have another unpopular thing that I probably shouldn't even say, but I kind of want to, you know, but I will. It's too late. I think Ukraine just turned from a Christian country to a Judeo-Christian country. I just think Zelensky's putting the Judeo and Judeo-Christian. That's America's a Judeo-Christian country, right? Drag queen story hour, rainbow flags, and now speech laws for a foreign country that say that multiple sentences in the Bible are now hate speech. That's, you know, he's putting the dash in front of Christianity. So congrats, Zelensky, for westernizing a once Christian country that's now going to absolutely collapse under just backwards ideology while people die in a war that doesn't suit them. But congrats to Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro. Let me know what you guys get out of this. Let's see. Someone said, right as much as US. I love the United States, but we are like exporting the most degenerate, disgusting stuff all over the world, and it's gross, and we need to stop. Let's see. I'll read a few. Someone said Ukraine has so much freedom. Not really. They don't even have opposition political parties anymore. But someone said you're a weak man. This is what strength looks like. Get on my level, bro. It's okay. Let's see. Oh, I want to bring. Someone brought up Nazi. I wanted to bring up the Azov Battalion too because I just found that fascinating. This is how little that these left wing like Jewish groups in America actually even care about anything. They only care as much as they can exploit it. If they can exploit being the victim and make money off of it and get reparations off of it and pass speech laws off of it and gain power off of it, then they care. But the second that they could use a group that's associated with Nazis for their own benefit, all of a sudden they don't give a crap anymore. The ADL had the Azov Battalion on their website under like linked to white nationalism and Nazis, and it's so bad. And then as soon as the war starts and those same Jewish groups are now benefiting and working indirectly or directly with these Nazi groups, all of a sudden they don't care anymore. So that just shows you what these groups are really about. They only if they can use World War II to get reparations and speech laws and money and support and make the whole world think that everything revolves around them, then they do it. But the second a group that's affiliated with the group that nobody can be friends with, all of a sudden they're friends with them. And they're like, well, technically now Zuckerberg is, changing his definition. He's like, well, technically, I mean, you can talk about the Azov Battalion, but you just can't talk about their ideology. But it's like, so what are you saying? You're working with this group that you don't believe in to fight a war that you don't like. They're so fake. It's so fake. At least just be consistent, but they're not consistent. I don't know who the Azov Battalion is, but they went from Nazi link crazy group to like the best friend of the ADL and Zuckerberg. Like now all of a sudden they're best friends with groups that they once thought were Nazis, or they're allowing you to align them. Like it really makes you wonder. And all I'm going to say is this. There's all these laws that say you can't say stuff and you can't question stuff. Like, okay, so the people that are lying about the present moment the most are the ones that are saying you can't say that they're lying about anything else. This is how these people think that they're going to gain trust. We're going to gain trust by extorting you and basically taking over your country and passing speech laws and making it illegal for you to question us. That'll make you, that makes you trust us, right? It's like, ew. No, it's disgusting. Like that's not, we can pretend like that because it's a crime in most countries. They're passing hate speech laws to arrest you, but no, that's demonic. That's not how you should gain someone's trust. You should try this here, maybe try this, and maybe like there'll be a lot less hate. Try to don't be so evil and actually be a good person. Try that one time. Do you want to try? Oh no, you just want to play the victim and pass speech laws so no one can question you. Yeah, that's really good. That should do it. That should do the trick. It hasn't worked ever, but it'll work this time, right? It's like I don't. It's just it's so backwards. But the Azov Battalion thing is like the cream on the crap. That's why when Kanye said that stuff, where it's like obviously that was going to be a headline, obviously that people were going to hate it, but it's like the funniest part about that is like basically Facebook and the ADL did what he did like 2 months later with the Azov Battalion. It's like they basically allowed you to compliment them. That so it's like that's what made that so funny. Like if Kanye would have done that at a different time or Ye, it would have been like, dude, that's crazy. It's like he's just I mean, Ye's just copying the ADL and Facebook. He's just doing what they did to the Azov Battalion. He's like, they're not all bad, they're not all bad as long as we can fight a proxy war and get, Europeans to kill each other. Then it's fine. But the groups that are affiliated with Nazis and white nationalists are evil until we can convince two European countries to kill each other so BlackRock can come in and steal their country. Then it's okay. It's like, okay, I get it now. So as long as two European countries can kill each other and Larry Fink can come in and own a bunch of property, then it's okay to support even the worst of the worst group. Like, do people not see it? If people, I don't know. I think I made it pretty clear, but let's see. Did I manage to read my comment on the last live? On the last live? I don't know about that, but I'm here. I'm gonna keep this under an hour. I'm gonna keep this under 50 minutes actually. So I'll read some comments. Someone said in the comments, people think Ye's thing was orchestrated, Putin and Trump are controlled. Everybody's got an opinion or a theory. I'm gonna say this about Putin. I don't know what to believe about him because I've only heard a few speeches. So I'm not like, it is what it is. These are not my countries. He's not like my best friend or anything, but I just think whether whoever he is or not, socially, he's one of the only leaders in the world that is not bowing to the rainbow world order. And in America, it's gotten insane. I mean, I'm trying to watch football, which I shouldn't, but it's like they got stop hate on the helmets. It's like, oh, thanks, dude. I've been racist my whole life until I watched the television and it told me to stop hating black people. And it's like, did that even convert one person to stop hate? I wrote stop hate. Yeah, we know hating's bad, but all you guys do is hate all the time on your television. It's like, what is these stupid fake social justice campaigns in sports? Just like stop hate. Yeah, thanks, dude. But in general, it's all left-wing social Marxist delusion that's controlled by the individuals. And the second that you question the individuals, you get put in a Kyrie Irving timeout. So it's not even black activism. It's fake liberal Marxist black activism that's being puppeted by they who must not be named to basically use their social diversion to achieve their goals. They're just using black people. And the second that someone like Kyrie Irving figures it out, whether it's like he doesn't want to take the vaccine or he's posting Amazon links, they treat him like he's a freaking prisoner. You know what I'm saying? So how black is your black activism when you can't even be a black person that shares the Amazon link? It's like these people are professional props for a totally different group that's running their sports leagues and pushing racially divisive and anti-European and anti-white I don't know, activism really, because it's like it doesn't actually solve the problem. It doesn't actually help people. They've only helped destroy multiple black neighborhoods with their backwards activism. And the one message that they don't seem to want to give to anybody is a message of self-awareness and self-accountability, because here's a few things that they're not going to say. One, it's hateful to be hateful. Anybody, whether it's white, black, Jewish, Asian, it's like, yeah, don't just hate somebody because of who they are. I agree with that message. But what they're not saying is like, okay, is there like this massive racism where like, what's the issue in America? I mean, they've lopsided everything. You can't watch a single commercial with it. Like everything is literally lopsided to help everybody but white people in this country. It's all lopsided the other way. And if you're Asian, they're screwing you out of school because you do too well. But in general, it's like, so everything's lopsided the other way and they're not telling the truth about it. But like, where do they even think there isn't even what they say there is? But I will say this is like in a lot of neighborhoods, there's extremely high crime. And nowhere on the sports leagues does it like, hey, stop killing your own people, stop with the crime. Like it's like, yeah, like basically the message is, I'm just paraphrasing, but it's like, yeah, that doesn't exist. Just blame everybody else. It's like, no, at a certain point, a nice message to people would be like, hey, we got to clean up these cities. We gotta change the mindset. We got to stop buying into this like toxic culture of gang culture and violence and killing your own, because on television, we all get along and buy from our own businesses, but in the streets, it's not that way. So if you really want to help people, you got to tell them, yes, we'll do this for you, but there needs to be an ounce of self accountability and self awareness in your own neighborhoods, because not enough money and power and stop hate helmets is going to stop the fact that people are killing each other in the streets every day and destroying these neighborhoods. But they don't do that. They're basically providing cover for crime. Like all of these sports leagues are providing cover. And I wish I didn't know so I could just act oblivious, but I know why these people are doing it. Yes, it's left wing. Yes, it's Marxist. Yes, it's racially divisive. Yes, it's divide and conquer. But like they preach, this is my opinion, there are people out there that don't like other races. And in my opinion, there are people out there that don't like white and European people. And I know which people they are. And I know which people want Ukraine and Russia to fight. And I know which people are benefiting off of it. And I know which people are coming in and they're going to own everything. And I know which people are trying to crush certain people because they see them as a threat, moral wise, because they have a whole different set of principles and values that don't involve bank scams and rainbow, draped in rainbow flags and Boeing, jet missiles, with a LGBTQ sticker on it. And that's why they're doing it. So, it's just like they claim there's racism and supremacy. I see the same thing, just in a different category. So, and they need to stop. So, and I call it out anyway, but it's like I'm tired of seeing these people just bash on an entire group, and everybody in America just takes it and they're like, yeah, like whatever. I don't want to say, like, they're too nice. They're like, yeah, I'll just let them steal everything. And like, it's like, I get it's like hard to push back against, but I don't know. I'm not trying to spend 30 more years in a country that's going in the toilet. So I'd rather say something now than do anything, because it's not helping any group. I mean, I don't think it's helping build inner city neighborhoods. I think they're getting worse. I think white people are getting overdosing on pills and not doing well. I think Jewish people in America, not all, I think most people don't care, but the ones that cry on like social media, like, I feel so uncomfortable. Things are going to get more uncomfortable for everybody the more divided things get, right? The more people keep scamming us, the more people are going to get upset. The more that people like Adam Silver spend all their power pumping racial division, it's only going to make every race feel more uncomfortable. White, black, Jewish, everybody's going to feel more uncomfortable. I don't want that to happen. America's better when everyone feels great, but I don't feel comfortable going to Los Angeles. My uncle went to Los Angeles and he got his car bashed in. He was only there for 3 days. I told him, I'm like, don't go to Los Angeles. He got his car broken into in West Hollywood. It's like, no one feels comfortable in this country anymore. It's not a good thing. I don't want it to happen, but it's like, people are like, I feel more uncomfortable now. Like the hate's going up for, yeah, because we have to stop it at the source. And the source of it is like these sports leagues, these media companies, like everything they're doing is literally destroying the country. It's making the inner cities worse. It's giving people this sense of entitlement, yet not even fulfilling the goals that they have. Every race is suffering in their own way, one way or another. And if it's like, it's not good for anybody. I don't, except for the people at the top. If you own BlackRock, it's good for you. But if you don't own BlackRock, if you're just like an average person in the streets of like, Crown Heights, it doesn't help you. So I think it's our job as people to come together and say it's not good. Someone said BlackRock 2024. It's shocking how much they own. I don't know. I would love to look at the origins of how they owned everything, but you know, the people who are good with money own everything. And it's like they say it's a conspiracy theory, but it's like if you own a casino and I hit a jackpot, oh, I just hit a $50,000 jackpot. I'm the biggest winner. No, I'm the biggest winner on the floor, but the biggest winner in the casino is the person who owns the casino because they own the property, they own the hotels next to it, they own all the machines and the profits from that. So whoever owns the casino makes the most money, not the person who hits the jackpot. And whoever owns the banks probably own everything. I mean, it's just like comment, oh, that's hate speech. It's like, no, that's like a fact. I mean, isn't no, that's not how it works. Like, so early on, people who owned and controlled banks figured out interest loans and, like hedge funds. Who knows what they're doing? Taking your money, making more money, giving you back less money. I'm not really sure. Making you 5%, keeping 15%, lose money, you pay for it, 50% loan, credit card debt. I have no idea what BlackRock's doing or hedge funds or I don't know. What I do know is that America's becoming more disgusting. Where like if you used to watch TV, you'd have fun commercials, things that kids wanted to buy. Now you watch television, pharmacy, 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 pill, 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 pill. You used to walk the streets and see fun advertisement. Now it's like lawyer, lawyer, pill, lawyer, hospital, lawyer, pill, lawyer, urgent care, lawyer. It's like the country is being overrun by the corrupt medical industry and pharma. It's like it's everywhere. It's like this kind, like it's like we're just being like scammed and leached, and it's just like I just see us as like just like how much money can they get out of us before we die. It's like something needs to change, and it's not everyone else's fault. We need to change and demand change. Like there needs to be some sort of thing where people come together and they're like, okay, let's I mean, this is like idealistic, it's probably not going to happen, but let's put politics for aside for a day. I know they can't do that, but in general, why is our food making us so fat? Okay, I don't care if you're George Takai or Anna Navarro or Mark Levin, whatever. Why is the food in this country so bad? Why is it so bad? Why can't you just take all the crap out of the food and feed us semi-normal food so everybody's not fat and on diseases? Can we at least get that done? That would be a huge win. I think that would be massive because, something's making people fat in this country, and it's not just overeating, it's the quality of food. Monsanto, yeah, that was my big point with the yay thing too, where people are like, everything from Nazi Germany's bad. Okay, then let's ban Bayer. Let's keep that energy because Bayer merged with Monsanto, and they are evil, and they did come from Nazi Germany at one point. So, but we're mad that Ye said that not every Nazi's bad, yet there's a company that comes from Nazi Germany that's destroying America that nobody seems to care about. I just don't, this is why I'm not politically correct. I don't have hate for anybody. I'm just calling it like I see it. And I don't understand, like people are so offended by a podcast, but not offended by a company that merged with Monsanto that comes from Germany that's destroying the country. Bayer and Monsanto are the same now. No one's offended by Bayer, but everybody's offended by what Ye said on Alex Jones. What? Why? Like, if people had that energy for Monsanto, maybe this country would be healthier. I just don't understand it. Like, I'm not offended by a joke. I'm not offended by an opinion. I'm not offended by pattern recognition. And I don't feel responsible for things that other people are doing, even if I notice a pattern myself. But you can't really find that pattern with, you could find like the Vatican doing creepy stuff. But as far as like Polish or I'm Italian, like you can't find that many Italian or Polish people doing that much. If you did, I wouldn't just be like, oh, that I don't talk about it. Like I would be like, no, I see it. That's what I like. If Larry Fink was Italian and Zelensky was Italian and Kolomoisky was Italian and Ben Shapiro was Italian and Mark Levin was Italian and Zelensky was Italian and Epstein was Italian and Maxwell was Italian and SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried was Italian, and Bernie Madoff was Italian, and Janet Yellen was Italian. If they were all Italian and people like brought it to my attention, I'd be like, no, I noticed that is kind of weird. That is interesting. Maybe they're part of the mafia or something. I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, you can't tell me that. I don't want to see it. I mean, they're individual. It's like I wouldn't act like that. So I can't relate to people that are. But here's another unpopular opinion. I've already kind of said what I think we need to do better in America. But in my opinion, there's certain people that they don't want any accountability, and that's why certain problems continue. Like in Asian households, Asian parents want their kids to do great, maybe too much, but they discipline their children, and like some people say Asian people have higher IQs. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't like offend me because the net sum of Asians and me, it doesn't threaten my IQ. I don't care if people think that or not, but I think the reason they do so well, I don't even know if it's the IQ or it's just the fact that their parents discipline their kids. And if you have an Asian community and one of them's committing crime, they're all bashing the kid. In other communities, people are out killing each other and they make excuses for it. They're like, it doesn't exist. It's the cops' fault. I mean, it's gonna continue. I'm just calling it like I see it. You know what I'm saying? The reason you don't see that in Asian communities that much is because they don't allow it. And if it happens, they call it out. Same with a lot of communities. Call it out, say it exists, and demonize it. But the reason these things exist in other communities is because they won't call it out and they don't police their own. In fact, they just police other people from trying to talk about it. It's like it's so fake. And I'm at the point now where I don't really care what other people if they disagree because I don't have to live around that. Like it's like, oh, I live in San Francisco anomaly and I hate what you say. I don't care what you think. Live in San Francisco. Enjoy the poop on the street. Yeah, we have different politics. Great. Have a good day. Don't come near me. And it's like some people are like, anomaly, I don't like what you said. It's like, I don't like the fact that you're in your 40s and you're shaped like muck from Pokemon. It's like I wouldn't do that. You should work out and take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, how in the world are you going to police what I'm doing when you can't even police your own life? Like I don't care. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I don't care what anyone thinks, but it's like some people agree to disagree. It's fine. Like, ain't that so messed up? Then live in that neighborhood and enjoy a lot. Like I've said this before, but I think it's a profound point. I actually think what I'm saying is nice and less racist. I don't even think that word's overused, but like, who made up this narrative that poor people are more violent? Like, if you're super broke, are you like statistically more likely to steal? Probably, but at the same time, there's a lot of scammers that are rich. There's a lot of rich people addicted to stealing too. But my point is this: I don't think poor people or people of another race, regardless of your income, I don't think that makes you a worse person. Does that make me a bad person for not being racist and not being classist? I think there's a lot of rich scammers, but like people will be like, well, they're poor, so they have to kill each other. No, they don't. You can go to other poor countries and get treated like a king. Being poor doesn't make you a murderer, and being poor doesn't make you a thief, and being poor doesn't make you evil. So, and being a certain race doesn't make you any of that stuff too. But like the people that act like they're morally superior to me, they justify evil and murder. It's like, no. And it's the same with like, I'm just going to be honest, in a lot of poor rural white areas, the bigger problem than gang murder is drugs and pills. People are dying of overdoses and stuff. And I don't think poor white people need to be dying of pills so much. Like that's happening. It's a problem. Just like in certain other communities, there's a murder problem, but I don't think it needs to be that way. Like, I don't think white people that are poor are, yeah, I get when there's pills around and there's temptation around that people will lean towards that and meth. And, I understand drugs has always been a problem, but it's like, I maybe call me an idealist, but I don't look at poor white people and think, oh, that's your destiny. Like, no, it's not. People need to address the issue and try to figure out a way around it. But even a certain, like, if you look at rappers, people will cry about what I say, but look at not all of them, because I know Juice World died of drugs, but like a lot of black rappers that have died recently have gotten shot. And a lot of white rappers that have died recently have died of drug overdoses. Lil Peep, Mac Miller. I'm not saying it's true to everybody. There's some white people who've been shot and there's some black people who've died of drug overdose, but those are just like stereotypical statistical trends that aren't completely 100% true, but they're close enough that that's like my pattern recognition of like, these are issues in these communities, but are we going to point them out and try to fix them? Or are we just going to justify and be like, no, that's just, that it's fine. It's like, I hear that. I understand we can't fix everything, but I don't think it makes you a bad person to say that it doesn't have to be that way and that it's not okay. And if people policed each other more and their own community, it would be better, But in America, the biggest drug dealer is big pharma. The biggest drug dealer is the television. In West Virginia, I used to live there. That's got one of the worst drug problems in the world. The football stadium used to be owned by the pharmaceutical company. So, I mean, the coal mines are a big cash cow in West Virginia, but in front of it or right behind it is the pharmaceutical industry. So it's like, you know, the problem is not just I think I'm not going to play the victim in either community, but the media is like the biggest problem in the world. It's selling black kids and white kids now, but it's selling them this idea that it's cool to murder. And then it's like selling a lot of white kids this idea that it's cool to pop pills. And this is the culture. The television selling pills, the sports leagues are justifying what's happening in these communities and not addressing it. And then the music is telling white kids to kill themselves on pills and black kids to grow up that way. It's like the culture, the music industry, it's so toxic. It's literally planting these ideas in kids' heads. And I know it like meshes. It's not like they have a different message for each race, but I think it just hits different. If you listen to these like sad white rappers, like literally they're like, take pills and kill you. Like it's like literally like suicide music. Like a lot of these like depressed emo white kid rappers, it's like straight up like suicide music. Like it's like do not listen to that stuff. It's like brainwashing you to hate yourself. I get it. I've been sad too and listened to Linkin Park, but you know, got to snap out of it at a certain point once you're in your teens, or else it like infects your mind. Uh, Let me see. Someone said, "Who runs the entertainment industry?" Yeah, but at a certain point, you know, I think people need to take accountability as well. Now we have the internet. Now there's a lot of other entertainment, and it's our job to switch that. You know, nothing's going to be easy. Uh, you know, I don't have as much power and you don't have as much, but that's what makes life great. I don't think Michael Jordan said, well, I wasn't born a rich kid. I could have had special training courses. You just got to go out and shoot it. You know, like life is more fun when things aren't fair. Like I can't be like, well, if I owned a media company, yeah, sure. But I don't. Here's where we are. And, you know, what are we going to do about it? We need to make better music, make better entertainment, educate people, use our resources to push the truth and you know also not just blame the people doing it but blame the people that are so weak that they've allowed it and you know said nothing about it because it's kind of like sunlight to like a Dracula. It's like sometimes all you have to do is shine the light at it and they go ah! You know, it's like it's not that hard sometimes to call it out. I mean, it's not easy, but if enough people notice it, it doesn't last very long. The only reason it lasts is because people are so complacent. I love America. I love Americans. So, you know what I'm saying? I think this is a great country. But in my opinion, people are like a little too nice or something, you know, like a little, like not be nice to your neighbors, be nice to people in your community. But I think in general, it's like I think our ancestors like came to this country, you know, people fought in wars, and then I think things got good and now people just think they deserve everything. I don't maybe that's a little harsh to people, but I just don't think like every day that I work and do videos, and I know someone said that you just do videos. I mean, you could feel that way. I'm trying to combat the media, inspire people, do stuff for myself, etc. But you can feel that way. It's fine. But in general, it's like every day I wake up. One of the reasons I've been able to be so consistent over the years is because I don't think anything's guaranteed. I don't know when this is going to go away. I don't know when Facebook or YouTube, they've taken away my monetization like I don't know, like 10 times. You know what I'm saying? Turn it out, turn it. So it's like I like sometimes when my back's against the wall because I don't feel comfortable. I like not feeling comfortable because when you feel comfortable, it's over. Like, you know, so people got to get a little more competitive, I think, because like, yeah, at one point, someone worked really hard to get to America, whether they came legally or illegally, or from Europe or from Mexico, or however, or you were here for hundreds of years. At some point, someone was working harder than us, so it's our duty to like, you know, get with it. I think so many people are just coasting, and it's fine. It's nice to coast. I like to. I could be lazy. I like to sleep. I like to relax. You know what I'm saying? But like at the end of the day, like you know, we can't coast forever. At a certain point, people got to do like make moves. And America, that's what I'm trying to. Whether you agree with certain things I said, like life will pass you by. It doesn't matter what ethnic group you're from, what race, like, life, if you don't make a move, someone else is going to make a move. So it's best to try your best at whatever you do and make it happen. Someone said, perhaps we need to acknowledge that the game is rigged against us. It's impossible for us to win now. Well, I'll end on this note because I already overstayed my welcome. But like, it depends what game you're playing. Like, yeah, I think if you're trying to have as much money as BlackRock, probably not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? But here's another question. It's like, what makes people happy? Like, is the CEO, maybe he's a really happy guy. I don't know the guy. Maybe he's a nice guy. I have no idea. But do you think that everyone in these positions, do you think Joe Biden is filled with joy and his life has purpose? Maybe. I don't know. I doubt it. But, if you're playing the game of desiring what they have, then yeah, you probably can't win. But I think there's certain things in this world that money can't buy and that power can't buy. So it's like, depends what your destiny is and who you want to be. But I don't, the game that they're playing is rigged. This country is rigged. But at the same time, you know, the internet changed the game. In my opinion, like I was able to do a lot of stuff with the internet, get my music out there. So I'm not going to squander this opportunity in humanity where I don't have to talk to the king and be the court jester, or I don't have to, sign to Motown Records and them take 90% of my stuff so I could dance on the stage. This is a small pocket in history where I was able to use a cell phone and get 100 million views or 500, whatever, like whatever it is. So it's like, as much as there's certain games that are rigged, this is also in some ways like the greatest time. If I wanted to speak the truth or be a poet, or this was a time that I could get out there. So I've used this small window of opportunity to my advantage. So I don't see it as like, well, it sucks. I mean, what they're doing sucks, but there's also a lot of blessings in you know in disguise. It's like being down 30 in a game, like, but then if you come back, you're an extra legend for it. So, I think just framing it like this, I'm not a doomer and like a gloomer about it. It's just like I'm calling it like I see it, and I think if enough people call it like they see it and stand up to it, things will change. But in the meantime, all you could do is really make the most of what you have. And yeah, I don't see it as like these are horrible times and there's nothing good going on. It's like the stocks could go back up, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So I think that we got to make the most of it and use your blessings. There are blessings of this generation. How easy it is to get food, even with all the crappy food. It's unfortunate because if you are aware and alert, you can get great food nowadays, and it's a blessing. But I guess this is like the old welfare sort of like concept, like, oh, well, if you have a lot of money, you should help the people at the bottom or in the middle. And that's what the welfare should be. Like, whoever's controlling our welfare system right now is scamming everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're supposed to give food, like, even the lower food, you're supposed to help the poor and the middle class. But the people that are controlling that right now are just feeding people with garbage. So it's like, there are blessings if you pay attention and do your thing. But someone said, so you use them for your advantage. I don't know who use them. Who do you mean by them? But I wouldn't say I used them to my advantage. I'm just saying, like, when I'm 19 years old, I'm not thinking, oh my God, this world sucks and I can't do anything about it. I'm thinking, oh, this world sucks and I have a cell phone. I have yeah, I guess that is what I'm saying. I got confused by what you're saying, but I'm not like a quitter. I like to play, and if I'm in the game, I'm not giving up. I don't give up ever. So it's like I never looked at it like, oh, I'm screwed. It's just like you got to make the most of what you got, and if everybody does a little more, I think we could get somewhere. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. Have a beautiful day. Sorry for staying too long. Appreciate your time, and I'll be back soon. I was super under the weather for a while, so I was kind of laying low, but I'll be back in the new year with a lot of stuff. I think I'm gonna buy some new equipment. I think I'm gonna buy like a nice microphone for my office and recording microphone and stuff. So appreciate you guys. I'm gonna try to upgrade. If you look at my live streams from like a year and a half ago, it was way crappier. So well, maybe not than this, but like when I'm at my place, I'm gonna try to upgrade some of my equipment. Thank you guys. Have a beautiful day. I'll be back very soon.